Okay, so today we're doing something completely different. We're looking at the mighty Land Rover Defender, and this here is the rear tyre carrier assembly of the car. It's an aftermarket one, and in one of the many adventures off-road we did ourselves a mischief and have bent the rear tyre carrier, which has put a ding in the rear locking mechanism there, as well as the tyre holding adjustment there is had a bit of a ding, which means that the tyre no longer sat square against the rear of the car. It was actually tilted off to the side. So the way this works, it's got an arrangement which is just a piece of square section, a couple of nuts welded inside, capped, and that slides into that rear assembly area with two locking bolts on each side. And then from there there's another assembly. This part here, which I've removed, which is just a hollow section of rectangular steel, which has been capped as well, which will hold the whole assembly like that. And then from there, this was welded on in that orientation, which would hold the tyre. That's the bolt pattern for the tyre. So what we've done is we've pulled it all off, ripped it apart, and we're going to re-straighten it with some new material. Stay tuned. Oakley dokley, so we're back at the bench. We've got our assembly here, so getting it apart was not too difficult, not a huge drama, but still a bit of a pain. This required just a thin cut-off oil, cut through there, pull that off, and this component here was just squared up on the bandsaw. So that's all good to go. This whole thing's been powder coated as well, so that will be talked about later. This component here was attached like so. Bit of extra stuff there, so that had to be likewise cut with a slitting wheel, thin cut-off wheel on a grinder. Got through the welds, hammered and chiseled the rest of it off. So that was obviously sitting like so, where the whole thing was together. So that's the gist of it. So this piece, as I said, has been squared up on the bandsaw. That's ready to work on. This here just needs a bit of a whiz up with a grinder again, just to sort of just get it all back to flat material. There's a few ridges and raised sections here, so that won't be too hard. Then from there we'll go paint removal and fit up and weld out. Yeah. This is the component we've made to make the whole thing work. So this is just a piece of scrap. It's also ugly powder coated material. 150mm long, 45 angle on both sides, just make a giant parallelogram. End caps have been made, just some 50mm flat bar which has been cut to the right length and edges rounded. And I'll just weld on there like so. So once it's all cleaned up, that'll be a good little weld job. Yeah, then just work out the specifics of how we're going to get this mounted to the wheel holding assembly. And yeah, this is a bit thicker, a bit taller I should say, with the way it sits. So we'll get a little bit more height on this overall assembly when it's made, which will allow us to fit the bigger tyres on a little bit easier. I was running out of adjustment room on that, given that the tyres I've got are a bit wider than the factory Land Rover ones. A bit taller as well, but anyway, don't tell anyone. Yeah, so we'll go the next steps and come along for the ride. So this is what we're using. We're just using some of this Hames Uni-Strip. It's a paint stripper. Done a bit of a test so far, and it seems to be working right on the black powder coating there. And we've also got a liberal application on the beige powder coating there. So it's coming along alright. It's doing its thing. It's going to take a bit longer, but it is getting through there slowly. It just needs some time to react. Mechanical removal would probably be another way, but I'm not really too keen on spending all that time on a grinder. I'll just let it do its thing and hopefully just get a putty knife and just scrape it all off. So we'll see how that goes. Right, so we're giving it 10 minutes. We've got our paint scraper here. I've given it a bit of a sharpen up on the belt grinder, which should hopefully allow us to get under the paint a little bit more. Let's just get a good close up on this, and yeah, see how we go. We've got all our PPE on at the moment. Alright, that's not too bad. You can see we've got a bit of a removal of the coating. It's going to get us a lot of the way there. Alright, off to the side, and give this one a go. And it's working real well. This one here had like a really thick, nasty coating. You'd use a grinding wheel on it and it would just clog that up. Flat discs lasted a matter of minutes. Yeah. Good to know this is coming off really well. Probably going to persevere and just remove the paint off all components, because I will need to give it a uniform coat of paint on the whole part at the end. Chuck a comment down below if you reckon this would make a good ASMR video for all you freaks out there. As always, I don't judge, but yeah, there's some odd bods out there, that's for sure. For what we need it for, a quick lick up with a flat wheel or something like that would just make that perfect for the next steps. Got a bit of clean up to do now, and probably another few rounds of that, so you probably don't want to see that, but we'll be back. So I've just been cleaning up the mess from this paint stripping. We've got stuff everywhere, bits of paint. As you can see, the label on this stuff is quite alarming, toxic, and a little explosion in the chest. I think that's cancerous, or don't breathe it in, or exclamation marks everywhere, poison. It's got one of those characteristic smells. I don't know whether it's the methanol content or all the other nasties in there, but it reminds me of a past life where I did some study and we had a anatomy lab with body parts in buckets, and it brings me right back to those days, and that anatomical samples, or specimens I should say. It's a pretty morbid stink. Anyway, on to the topic. We've got the parts have been cleaned and buffed up with a flat wheel. So the finish is quite good. Good enough for a coat of paint on top of that. Just have to weld that up, that little drill hole. This was scrap steel. This was part of a... Where did this come from? It was a old demountable building that was, you know, the demountable school buildings. It was a handrail off that. Just part of the superstructural framing. Yeah, so it's a real weird size. It's what's the numbers on it? Real odd size. 3 inch by 1.5, and its wall thickness is about 4 millimeters, but what that relates to in inches, I don't know. Don't do imperial system. Rubbish. So yes, next step, we'll bring everything together and do a bit of a tack up, align it, weld it. Just going to give this a bit of a weld up to get this hole sorted out. Give everything a bit of a clean. That's what this stuff is for. You ever see it floating around on the bench? So I've got the machine set to DC. We've got just an automatic pulse on there just for fun. Dial set to 120 and we're running a pedal. Give it a purge. It's always a good Saturday when you got your rod in your hand. That needed a bit more power. I should have had it machine dialed up a bit higher, but yeah, anyway, live and learn. That is everything we need it to be. That will grind flat quite well. Never even know it was there. Leave this on because I will need to hold it. So we've got this part now, which is all prepared, welded up. There was a hole there, no longer. And we've got these caps to weld on. So these are the caps which we've made. They're just some 3mm material. They'll go on there. Now, as far as setting the machine up, we've got some considerations to make. So obviously this is a thicker material, about 4 and a bit mil, 4.5. This is 3mm, so we've got a material thickness difference. Also got a number of outside corner joints there, there, there and there, which are to be welded. And when you start to look at the joint design, that's a very thin area there, so that's going to be likely to melt away quite quickly if we're not aware of it. This will be a bit more robust, likewise with the sides. So I was wondering how I'm going to set the machine up for that. So we're in obviously DC TIG. We've got the machine set up like so. We've got 185 amps on the dial. We're running a average value pulse in where is it? DC. We've got a pulse length of pulse peak of 133 above the base, or above that average target. We've got a 25% balance, that high pulse state, bumping over to the left, and we've got 1 Hertz frequency. So obviously we can play up to that amount with our foot pedal, which will give us up to 185 amps to melt the steel as we deem fit. And we're going to see a 33% peak, a bit of a blast of current with significant dwell time. So actually, just thinking about that, I might actually make that a bit higher than, might make it 40% peak, 40% above our target average on the pedal. So yeah, we'll give that a whirl, see how we go. We'll either work or it won't. And let's see it in action. Get set up for hopefully getting you nice and close to the action. So this is it prior to welding. We've just got the cap fixed on with one of these adjustable magnet V-block arrangements. I don't know what you call them, but got them from the local tool shops. They're pretty nifty. It was until I bumped it, all centered and ready for attack. And because it is an odd shape, we have got it set up in a clamp just to hold it upright so that we're not fighting it into one spot. So we'll give this a whirl. We've already done our pre-weld prep. And of course I put the foot pedal right underneath the camera where it's real awkward. And hopefully you can still see what's going on. Two opposing corners tacked. This is now redundant, and flip it around and do the other side. a slightly thinner rod. Alright, this part I'm just going to try and fuse. Autogenous. Turned out quite well. That's the bat phone. That'll do. Alright, Alright, so we've got the part ready to weld out. We're going to use the dirty MIG on this one. Got the machine set up to, what do we got? About 120 amps, 26 volts, 10 meters per minute wire. This is the pulsed feature of the Pico 180, so yeah, ready to rock and roll. Where'd my other glove go? There we go. So just get it tacked up and give her a whirl. There we go. Well, I didn't actually get the paint off, powder coating off that other side, but yeah, win some, lose some. Oop, we're on fire. Save the day. What? I'm going to turn pulse off on this one now, and turn the material thickness up. Welding at a higher feed speed and higher volts. Sorry, a bit lower volts, higher feed, no pulse. That stinks. Really should have taken the paint off that other side. Alright, so you don't have to hear me choke to death over here. We'll make a quick observation. So I did a pulse on that side. We'll just standard MIG welding there. And the other side I'm not going to show you because I'll burn my fingers off, but yeah, a bit smoky in here, might get some ventilation, and yeah, get into it. Alright. So yeah, forgot to get some pictures after welding but before paint. So yeah, turned out alright. Got welding around the perimeter there of this RH square section. There. And in the shadows there. Yeah, didn't get great results there, but anyway, for what it's worth, it will do the trick. And yeah, now we're just going to give it a bit of a scuff up with some fine emery paper, and then hit it with some epoxy enamel, and that will be job done. Probably 2 coats of black. Alright, watch this space. It's all done. So we've given it 2 coats of epoxy enamel primer, 1 coat of epoxy enamel primer and 2 coats of this stuff, which is the best, satin black epoxy enamel. Yeah, that's going to be a good finish. We've done 2 coats of black. It's got a bit of dust from being outside in the breeze, but other than that, it's done. So yeah, decent finish. All this assembly is pretty much hidden behind the tyre when it's on the vehicle, so there's no need to, no need for a stupid high-end finish. So that's a wrap for this one. We might even get a bit of a shot of it on the vehicle. So to wrap this up, we're back at the Land Rover. We've got the whole assembly painted. Turned out quite well. And ready for install. So easiest install you'll ever see. Couple of nuts and you're done. Simple.